hacker fiscalía es un ampón. Lo que pasa es que no me voy a disminuir con un loco de esos, que se pone un chaleco antibalas desde Canadá engañando a la gente.
¿Por qué me escribe así? Sin embargo, eso yo lo dejé ahí porque lo vi como un loquito. Porque en las redes hay mucho loquito. Y él se pone chalecos, antibalas, como si estuviera en guerra, como si estuviera en guerra,
como si estuviera en guerra,
como si estuviera en guerra. Y es muy fácil estar en Canadá, en una zona de confort.
O sea, yo, ¿qué loco es este? Para mí, de verdad, yo soy directa pedazo de loco. Desde Canadá es muy fácil ponerse un chaleco antibalas y decir mamarrachadas y engañar a la gente para que le dé vaquis. Y le agradezco a la gente que me está oyendo que no le dé más plata a este ampón.
Bien.
Que no le dé más plata a esta sinvergüenza que está viviendo de mentiras y engaños, dañando a la gente buena de este país desde Canadá. Cuando lleguemos a la presidencia, no vamos a permitir que gente como usted haga ese daño a este país.
Bueno.
No, señor, esa es la gente que tiene que estar presa en este país. ¿A qué juega usted, hacker? ¿Por qué no ataca a otros que le están haciendo daño al país? ¿Por qué no habla de los corruptos, sinvergüenza? ¿Por qué está hablando de mí?
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Mounties say they have busted the largest and most sophisticated drug lab in Canadian history in a small BC town. A massive takedown that they say likely saved thousands of lives. As CTV's Ben Milger reports, RCMP have connected the operation to Mexican drug cartels and say the investigation is not over yet.
This is a war weapon. This is a war weapon.
This is a war weapon.
This is a war weapon. This 50 caliber sniper rifle, one of 89 firearms seized by Mounties, including restricted handguns and AR-15 style rifles. It's all part of an investigation into what the RCMP calls the largest and most sophisticated drug lab in Canadian history.
The precursor chemical in combination with the finished fentanyl products seized at this location could have amounted to 95 million potentially lethal doses of fentanyl.
In addition to 54 kilos of fentanyl, police also seized 390 kilos of meth, 35 kilos of cocaine, and 15 kilos of MDMA. Police say the lab was busted in the small community of Falkland, about 40 kilometers west of Vernon. After a months-long investigation, on Friday, officers conducted simultaneous raids on that property and two in Surrey, which is where they found most of the guns. Based on the techniques used to make the drugs, investigators believe there is a connection to cartels in Mexico, but would not get more specific.
These are highly motivated, highly sophisticated criminals whose allegiances change, and they'll make deals with other groups and these kinds of things. But you heard me mention today about Mexican cartels and transnational criminals.
Police don't believe the drugs were intended for sale in Canada or the United States, but would not say what countries they were destined for, saying that would compromise ongoing investigations. Police also seized $500,000 in cash. Despite the scale of the operation and the size of the weapons cache, only one person has been arrested so far. Gaganpreet Randhawa faces 6 drug and weapons charges, and police say he remains in custody. Ben Milger, CTV News, Vancouver.
Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. We begin tonight with a drug bust revealing BC's connection to one of the most notorious and violent drug cartels in the world. Metro Vancouver's role in international organized crime is raising concerns about the lack of security at our ports. Here's CTV's Shannon Patterson.
Alongside the bags of drugs, cash and weapons seized when RCMP raided a major trafficking operation in Surrey in September, 3 Mexican passports. A clue that this bust was connected to drug kingpins outside our borders.
They're one of the main Mexican drug cartel groups.
This bust was announced a week after the public learned about Canada's biggest drug super lab on a rural property near Kamloops. It, too, was connected to Mexican drug cartels.
This is a completely separate investigation. The main commodity in this one was cocaine, and it was an importation as opposed to the export of the super lab.
RCMP were cagey about the cartel they believe is behind the Surrey operation.
This drug operation was disrupted as a result of the arrest of one of their main leaders in the United States over the summer. So I can't state exactly which drug cartel, as this is an ongoing investigation, but you can probably connect the dots.
In July, the leader of the Sinaloa cartel, Ismael El Mayo Garcia, was arrested in Texas.
They're huge, they're ruthless, they're smart, they don't pick sides.
Peter Edwards co-authored The Wolf Pack, a book about how BC gangsters helped usher the Mexican cartel into Canada. He says they operate here because of proximity to the port of Vancouver.
To me, it makes total sense. It's not that tough to get things to Australia, to New Zealand, down to California.
He thinks by announcing 2 major busts involving Mexican cartels in a week, RCMP are sending a message to local affiliates.
The cartel guys will get away with it, and they're not going to lock them up, but they will catch the BC guys, or some of them, and some of them will turn on each other.
These drugs and weapons were seized at a heavily fortified home in a residential Surrey neighborhood.
They had steel shutters, razor wires, a lot of surveillance equipment.
2 Canadian citizens and 1 Mexican national were arrested and released pending charges.
As far as the criminal justice system, the length it takes to approve charges and things like that, that's out of the police's hands.
Edwards doubts the drug busts will deter Mexican cartels from setting up shop in BC.
On the one hand, it's a huge deal that they caught these drugs. On the other hand, they're not crying down in Sinaloa. They're just packing it up and heading off again. No one lost any sleep over this.
Shannon Patterson, CTV News, Surrey.
Y la gente le cree, la gente le cree. ¿Y cuál es el delito que una persona sea uribista?
Pero es
¿Cuál
una
es el
persona
delito?
Me ha vilipendiado a mí como le ha dado la gana, diciendo que esta señora es uribista, que yo no sé qué. Pues yo no sé. ¿Y qué hay de malo si alguien es uribista? No tenemos que respetar también a los uribistas. O sea, la gente tiene razones válidas para ser uribista.
Es una persona
Hacker,
que trabaja en la fiscalía.
Hacker, en nuestro movimiento diseñado para los colombianos, aquí caben los uribistas también. Siempre y cuando quieran lo mejor para este país. Siempre y cuando quieran acabar con la corrupción. El único que no cabe aquí son personas como usted. No cabe. No las necesitamos.